welcome to the Armory. I'm Archaic, your host, and with me is Glitched. How you doing, Glitched?
Doing good. How are you guys?
I can't hear them.
Oh, Jesus.
Tweet at me, and I will hear you. I will hear you, or I'll see you. You're okay. Moving on. This is the replay analysis section of week 1 for Glitched. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into a replay. We have our red hero Terran here. Okay.
And now I'm green. Ah. This is
Okay.
me failing at typing.
This is Newkirk Precinct, and it's a TVT. So the viewers don't know how you play. I've watched all your games and sort of seen. Why don't you give sort of a brief synopsis of your game plan? Like, what do you kind of go for? You said 2 base timings, or
I believe this is after I started implementing my Hellbat drops. So what we're going to see here is a fast tech up to Hellbat, and then doing a Hellbat drop with my first 2 medevacs and my first 4 Hellbats into a main base, I believe, is what we're going to see.
okay, there's the gas. So we're gonna see
So
something
yeah,
along the tech route.
pretty sure that's what we're going to see.
Why don't you talk about Hellbat drops a bit? How do you feel, or how do they go for you? Like, is it a game-winning maneuver, or
If well, it's like all early aggression like that. If your opponent isn't ready for it, then it's a game winner for sure. Hellbats currently, before the patch happens, are incredibly. They do a lot of damage in a very short time, and they've got a decent amount of hit points. So, getting rid of them inside of a mineral line within the first 10 minutes can be really, really brutal. Um, with my timings, this build usually hits at about 7 minutes 30 seconds, and it's usually if because a lot of players in silver have a lot of their army up front because they're expecting 1 base pushes and all that kind of stuff. By the time they get them back into your mineral line is vaporized, right? Because of the hellbat damage output.
mm-hmm. So
Um,
it actually looks like you went ahead, got that fast expand,
yeah,
and you're getting a lot of barracks.
yeah.
So I guess talk a bit about that.
Okay.
What how
So
come no factory? What do you think? Oh, sorry.
this isn't the hellbat build then.
Well,
Sorry.
there you go. That's perfectly fine. Oh, we're seeing some Reaper harass.
Ah, Raypart. Okay, so this is the bio build. Um, this bio macro build is a fast expand with 2 barracks that you drop 2 tech labs onto, and you get stim and combat shields at the same time.
So
So
while you're
I,
getting harassed here, how do you sort of deal with situations like this? Because this is something that really affects lower level players. Is they
yeah.
really struggle dealing with these kind of situations. So how do you sort of deal with it? What do you?
Okay. The first thing you got to remember is chances are you're going to lose some SCVs. The best part about SCVs is they're cheap. Um, the next thing is that don't take your entire army and put them on to follow and attack one unit because it'll just become a situation where your army's chasing around this one target over and over
Right,
again,
right.
and it's not doing anything. Split them up, especially with the amount of Marines that I had. Split them up, spread them out around the main base and around the mineral line there, and
Yeah, yeah.
they'll just get hits off. It'll just happen. So eventually, as you saw, it wore down, right?
Yeah.
And it ended off. So after that, it's getting Marines in the spots where Hellbats can drop up here by the main base and also up by the mineral line past the bunker. So
Right, right. Yeah, we definitely saw it. Yeah, splitting up your units is really valuable, protecting those key areas, because if you have units where he wants to harass, it makes it unharassed. Like, very
yep.
little harass is going to be done. So that's definitely really strong.
And he
Um,
brought in a lot of Reapers into
yeah.
that too. There was like 6.
So that's so how does that affect what he's going to be doing? Because we don't see you scout or anything.
No.
So you definitely have a very set thing you're doing, which is
Um,
perfectly fine. But
Yeah. For my play for right now, I'm focusing more on my macro and getting myself in a proper position than I am on scouting too much.
Hmm.
Um, yes, there is some builds where I will send out an early SUV after it builds the barracks just to see what's going on over there. But the thing about bronze and silver is a lot of players are so inconsistent that it's hard to keep up with what they might be doing because the builds just aren't there, right? So
Right.
what we're seeing here is adding on more barracks, adding on tech labs, getting those upgrades of the stim and the combat shields, and building up forces until I have medevacs, and then moving out after that. I'm going to be in a good position here because I'm going to have stim, combat shields, +1 armor, and +1 attacks. I went double engineering bay off of
Hmm.
it. The entire reason why I could afford this was because I got that early second.
Yeah, and you took some damage, but
Yeah.
realistically, because like you said, he had a lot of Reapers,
Mm.
he he invested in that harass, so he needed to do damage.
Yeah.
So the nice thing about it, even though you took damage, you're able to recover from that damage a lot
Sure.
faster. Especially so he's trying to get up that second command center. During that time, you're going to be in a good. You're gonna, as long as you don't take too much damage, like you said, you're ready for it.
Yeah.
You're in a good spot. So you're definitely climbing way ahead in supply. So that's really awesome. And this is just a testament to what you were saying before. Is oh, that's a lot of units that just died. Is is you're really focusing on the mechanics side of the game. So that's the goal. That's the goal, is that you get really, really far ahead of your opponent.
Yep. I noticed that I moved into that attack, and yeah, it was a bad engagement for me, and it was only because of that one siege tank, right? One siege tank can make such a difference at this time of the game. It's amazing. I realized that too. I should have had
Yeah,
more marauders in that initial attack.
that's definitely, and yeah, saying that is definitely true. Um, you said that earlier. You said you have sort of this two base all in. Do you feel like you're all in at this point?
No, I've got a lot of production backing this up, so it's not that bad actually.
Yeah, and we see you pulling ahead in supply again. So, although your opponent's macro is quite poor, that's
Yeah.
we're gonna ignore that because you're doing such a good job of spending your money. Um, when do you think is kind of a good time to go ahead and get that third?
Um, this third is late. Honestly, I should have had a command center building in my or in my main base when I did the first push.
And why do you think that? Why?
Um, it's usually a good time to expand because in the two base all in kind of play, you've exhausted your military, and chances are you've also exhausted his. You've either matched it or really pushed him back in it. So the chances of him getting an attack in and shortly after that are pretty low. So it's a good time if you have the minerals to get that command center down and get it running, right?
Yeah, that's kind of a really complicated concept. The idea of trading your army so that you can get an expansion, right?
Yeah,
Because if you know that your opponent doesn't have an army because you just traded your army for his army, then taking an expansion is the correct play because he can't punish you for it.
exactly. It's
So
kind of a backup, really. It's like, okay, if I lose this battle, then I got an expansion coming in. But
yeah, and it's a very solid follow up. So I like what you said. You feel like this expansion was late.
mm.
Um, And so what do you think sort of happened in this game? Because for the first time in the game, he's taken a supply advantage. What would you attribute that to?
Yeah. Um, he rocked me. Like he had some really, really good engagements there. And as far as why he had really good engagements, it could have been upgrades. I'm not exactly sure what he had on me. He had a lot of medevacs too.
Yeah. When we talk about engagements, obviously you forced the issue, right?
Hmm.
You were the aggressive player. So
Absolutely.
I guess why did you take those engagements then?
Um, because I wanted to, I guess.
Right.
Just a noob being a noob. Like, oh, I can't believe I took that one.
Oh
Oh,
man, the classic right click, and
yep.
I
Did you
think
see
that's a
that
game
blob?
ender, eh?
I think so. That was brutal.
Yeah, I don't. I think everyone goes through that
Yep,
where they have that right click moment,
yep,
and you're still the good fellow and you GG, but
yep.
oh man, that hurts.
Always GG. New players, always GG. If you don't, you'll become Idra. Do yourself a favor. Always GG. Even if you lose, it's still a good game, right? You're gonna learn something from it. Always GG. There's no reason for raging out of a game.
That's kind of funny. I always think of it as this uh snowball effect where if you try your best to be nice to people, um, you'll be known as this nice guy, right? And I think the opposite is true. It becomes a very nice, easy path to fall down to. If
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's definitely always a good thing to
In
be mannered.
yeah, in my own personal experience, I've noticed that, let's say I had a really, really bad game. Like this one, for example, is definitely not my best.
But it was just well in a large regard that one right click was a pretty
Yeah, it
big
is a bad
contributing
move,
factor.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but I've noticed that if I have a bad game and I don't DG, that rage from that one game will snowball into the next one, and it'll just continue to snowball, and I lose focus and I lose
Mm,
concentration, right?
I
If I
like what you're
GG,
saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel better about that game, and then I go into the next one with a clear thought process.
Mm,
And that's something that I've learned through trial and error and some help from my roommate. And it's very, very true. You need to remember that um, it's still Starcraft and it's still a game. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing, you're gonna hate it eventually, right?
yeah,
And if
yeah.
you hate something, you're gonna be bad at it. So, and especially with
Mm.
how mental this game is, you need that positive self-reinforcement on your play.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at the game. Yeah, that's awesome. Take that home.
Yep.
Take that home, you
But
guys. Um,
always
so
GG.
just to go ahead and jump back in the game, I just want to take a peek at a couple things, and this is something. This is a bit of an exercise I've done with John, or Zavel, sorry. Um, is look at things like spending.
Mhm.
So if you want to open up that tab so you can see yourself, we'll just take a quick look. So economy, technology, army, um, you're winning.
Wow, how did I lose that?
I'm glad you have this disgusted face on your look. Oh, if only I was like OSL could like do a quick zoom into you. No. Ah!
Dun dun here. Dun dun dun. dun. That didn't turn out as good as I wanted it to.
I like misclicked 3 times before I got to the webcam with you on. Uh,
Ah.
so that's
Like
that's significant.
my economy is way better than his. My
Yeah,
technology is higher. My
yeah,
army is decently higher.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
got plus
I'd
two
say
attack on his marines. Um, the worst part is some of the biggest engagements in there, he didn't even have tanks in them, so we can't even because he used them mostly for defense back at home.
mm-hmm.
I've got stim. My marines are 1-1. How many barracks did he have up? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, what the heck? He had 4 barracks compared to my
This is a
2,
struggle.
5, 7, 8. Oh, wow. Bad engagements. That's all I got. Being too aggressive. Um, wow.
Okay, you can open up the units lost tab now.
Do I have to look at this?
If
Oh
I could
my.
do a zoom in. Hopefully you guys can see this
Yes.
on YouTube, but But okay, so glitched lost 223 units. His opponent 76.
Yep.
The amount of resource that equates to 14,825 for glitched. 5,300 for his opponent. Do we talk about cost effectiveness here?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. A lot of people will say in bronze and silver, if you can out macro your opponent, you're going to win the game. And it's very true. The only deciding point on that is if you can completely out macro your opponent, but if you can't take a decent engagement, you're still going to lose. And here is perfect proof.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is really good. We talked about your average unspent minerals, and we talked about your supply cap, which is something we are focusing on, and we will be focusing on in the future. And we kind of look at this game and see, holy crap, you were like running all your units up to him, and then like slitting all their throats, and them all dying, and then you would do it again. Come on, Marines, let's run up there. Oh, look at me. It was a massacre. You are a very, like, if you were my commander, I would run. I'd go home. I'd be like, you know what? Any life is better than this life.
That's so brutal. Oh my God. I outplayed him in every single way, except for I just didn't take the engagements when I should have.
So I really like this idea that you brought up. A lot of players know this idea, but you brought it up, and it's this idea of doing an attack and expanding behind it. You said your third was late. I would agree with that because you did this really nice timing where you said you had stim, you had combat shield, you had, I think, +1 weapons and armor, and you had medevacs.
Actually, can we go back to that?
Sure, yeah. I would love to jump back there. It would be at about 10 minutes or so, eh?
Yeah, right around there, I think.
Maybe later than that? Yeah, later than that. Okay. We'll jump forward. Oh, right, because of the harassment. Yeah. Jump forward. So when your medevacs are coming out.
There's a starport, so.
Jump back in the game here. There's the starport. Okay, we'll slow her down. So yeah, we're seeing you go ahead and get a bunch of units. Here, I'll jump into your player view again. The medevacs are out, so you have a lot of stuff, eh?
Yeah. It's a good looking force.
Yeah, it's great. And so if we talk about this concept of you expanding at this point, you can go ahead and take this expansion, and if you do something like a scan or do something to see where his army is, because running up a ramp against an army that's Protoss or Terran, we talk about these really cost-effective compositions that you're familiar with. There's tanks that are really good against you. There's Colossus that are really good against you. There's Storm that are really good. So running up a ramp blind is pretty detrimental, and as we can see from this engagement, it's bad. So if you were to take this expansion and lay down a scan, get some information, maybe run a couple Marines up that ramp, you
Those
could
tanks
just
smoked me.
Yeah.
Oh.
But you don't need to take an engagement. If you take your third, all you have to do is stop your opponent from taking a third.
Yep.
And you win that game.
Sit there and lock them in for sure.
Yeah. Especially with such a mobile army, or mobile composition that you have, using medevacs, using Marines, Marauders, that is a really cool thing to be able to do, is just to, like, constrict your opponent. Be like, you know what? I'm just going to wait outside of the range of your tanks. And as soon as you try to move out, I'm going to stop you from moving out. And I'm going to trade my army with your army, and then I'm going to expand. Because if you trade armies, you're in a good spot. If you stop him from taking a base, you're in a good spot. So all of these things are really awesome things that we want. So you're setting yourself up for a great mid to late game just by doing this push, as long as you take that third.
Totally.
And maybe not sacrifice your army a bunch of times
Yeah.
by running up a ramp. This is what we call
Yeah.
forcing the issue, and it didn't work out for you very well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and
Brutal.
jump. We don't need to watch those massacres again. It's a tough thing to watch as a Terran player, to watch all those little friendly Marines.
I can't
Ah.
believe I just stormed that ramp. He- Another thing too is when I first started playing, I was a very, very passive and a very defensive player,
Yeah.
and I've only recently become a more aggressive player. And I think this might be part of the reason why I did that a lot of times.
That's
It's me trying to prove to myself that I am an aggressive player.
That's a really good thing you brought up, because with aggression, if you are a passive player, passive hands-off player,
Mhm.
it is really hard to decide when a good time to attack is.
Yep.
So if you're making this transition from passive player to aggressive player, you're going to have very little understanding of when to be aggressive. So you're going to overshoot your mark by a big shot. So you were far too aggressive in this game versus his his tank-based defense, to be able to maintain cost effectiveness. So what you're saying is really smart. You're gonna blunder a lot. Be way too aggressive, be way too active, running around. You're gonna have your units right-clicked, and then the whole army's gonna die because you're trying to be aggressive. And aggression is awesome. And aggression is awesome. And I really want you to keep doing this, because without doing this in practice, like this is practice, ladder's practice, without losing games to needless aggression, you're never going to understand when to be aggressive, because then you're going to always be passive, and that's a bad thing.
Yep.
So yes, aggression is a good thing, and I really like that you're actively picking things like, okay, my supply depots, I need to work on that. That's what we said. We need to work on this. And you also said, you know what? I'm a really passive player. I want to be aggressive. Let's do it. And you are practicing your aggression, and you are falling on your face. And that's awesome. We want that, because you can pick yourself up and be like, okay, let's not trip over that curb by running up that ramp into like Helm's Deep and losing all the things. Helm's Deep is not a good place to storm.
Here's Balrog. Have fun.
Ramps are like little fortresses, especially versus Terran or Protoss.
Yep.
Especially Protoss, because they have Force Field, Storm, Colossus, and I don't know all the things. They have everything. Oh, Planetary Nexus, whatever that's called. It's scary. Ramps should scare you.
3 stalkers.
Ramps should scare you. So when you see a ramp, you want to find out what's above that ramp. Above that ramp before you run up that ramp. But this aggression, I support your decision. And I support your decision to fall on your face, and that's good. We're practicing here. This isn't not a tournament setting.
Yep.
I want you to practice falling on your face, because then you'll catch yourself, and it'll be amazing. So next week, I look forward to you working on that supply blocking. Like you said, going through that cycle in your head, building supply depots, building SCVs, and spending your money is going to be a great cycle, just to run through your head. Those are the things you want to check. Okay, supply depot, good. SCVs, okay, SCVs, good. Okay, I can spend my money now because I have supply depots, so I can spend my money. Good.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. Oh, let's get those supply depots going again. Yes, these are great cycles we want to work on, and that's great that you've already identified that. And working on aggression is wonderful. And Starcraft 2 is an aggressive game. Yep. It's like, compared to like a fighting sport, you can't sit at the corner of the ring and be like, I'm not, don't come, punch. No, stay back. It just doesn't work like that. So aggression is awesome. I love that you're isolating these things and focusing on them. Any last comments or concerns? Anything before we close up the show?
Nope. I don't think so.
Good. Good. We will be back, guys. This is the Armory, episode 1. There will be many, many, many episodes to follow. So don't worry, you will get your fill of glitched, Starcraft, and archaic coaching. Thanks so much for watching again. Just follow me on Twitter, Archaic Coaching, and subscribe to my YouTube, and you will get all of the updates of this show and all the students and everything awesome that you could dream of.
Unicorns and rainbows.
Yes, I promise. Unicorns and rainbows. Archaic. Yes, maybe next week we'll have a rainbow in the background.
Ooh.
No, sorry.
No?
I'm not Irish, I'm Scottish. Anyways, thanks everybody for watching. I'm Archaic. This is Glitched. We'll see you next week.